let's talk a little NFL draft. The Browns could go tackle, they could go receiver, they could go best player available at 6. A guy who we've talked about a decent bit, both at 6 and 24, is Jordyn Tyson, the brother of Cavs wing Jalen Tyson. But Dane Brugler, friend of the program, gave us an injury update on the Arizona State star receiver over the weekend in regards to his lingering hamstring issue that we have to discuss. This is Dane Brugler talking about Tyson's hamstring injury.
Jordyn Tyson's a little bit more difficult because of the durability factor, all the injuries he's been working through, and even into this draft process. It was a hamstring that bothered him throughout the year, and then it's kind of spiked a little bit during training. He wasn't able to work out at the combine. He's not going to work out at the pro day. There's a hope he can maybe run some routes before the draft, but we'll find out about that as we get closer. And so he's a guy that has missed a lot of time over his 4 years in college, and it's hard to understand how much to factor that in. But based just on the tape, to me, I see a guy like Stephon Diggs who can create his own separation. He can win at the catch point. There's just a lot to like about him. And so these are 3 really good receivers at the top.
Tyson, clearly a very talented prospect, but with a littered injury history. If you're the Browns, how do you kind of weigh the talent versus the injury past as you look at him as a potential pick? And not just number 6, but number 24 as well.
I don't know, man. I actually caught that a little bit. And me and Tyva's been talking about these receivers and doing this like review of the top receivers. And it scares me. The fact that he hasn't ran or done anything at the combine, he's probably not going to run or do anything at his pro day. He may get into some route. When you say he might run a couple routes here or there, for the Cleveland Browns, I just don't think at this point they are in a position where you can, at number 6, take somebody who is either has a history issue where you don't know if they're going to be available and ready to go. I need somebody who is a starter. I can't be, we'll work. That's my thing with Monroe Freeling. I like him, but if you're going to tell me, all right, we're going to take him at number 6, and then we got to still figure out whether DeJuan Jones can cover our bet if he's not ready to go until half. No. I need me a starter right now. And the scary thing about Jalen Tyson is it's just not one injury. He's been injured going back to Colorado, injured going back to Arizona State, multiple things. PCL, ACL,
That's the triple crown. I've had that one. I'm surprised he came back and played as well after his injury there.
Well, and plus you worry about the degenerative nature. You worried about the swelling. Can he practice back-to-back days? Is he going to be able to go through camp? And then you're going to have to start talking about, the chemistry, figuring out whether he's missing. No. To me, I ain't going to say they take him off the board. If he was still somehow to fall to 24, and if they did take a tackle in the first pick because they're higher on the tackle, I would still take him at 24 because I think he's that talented. But I'm out on him at 6.
I don't think it's out of the question he falls to 24, only because I feel like guys with less injuries than that have fallen a lot farther than 24.
They have.
So, yeah, it's a real concern. We talked about him on the show a couple weeks ago that in some ways it's worse if it's one injury that's chronic, it's worse in a lot of ways. But this is such an array that it just leads you to believe that he's just brittle. And there are some guys that are just injury prone. And when you have a ton of soft tissue injuries and you combine them with a full knee reconstruction and a fractured clavicle, like something's going on here. It's not just a fluke. 1 or 2 things you can buy as a fluke.
Yeah.
There's just too much here for it to just be a fluky thing. So, no, I don't think you can touch him at 6. And it's a shame because I think he's incredibly talented. But there's just too much else going on. I think what's the number one ability in all of professional sports? Availability.
Can you show up?
He just doesn't have it.
This is what scares me. This is the kind of player the Browns take.
In low-key, that is their profile.
Particularly at wide receiver. I'm going to throw some names at you. I'm also going to ask you guys to help me with some other names. Was it Antonio Callaway that they signed? It's either injury or trouble.
Florida. Yep.
We can be Father Flanagan. We can fix him. Look at the tape. So here's what the scenario is. You got good Devil. It's funny that he's an ASU Sun Devil. Mm-hmm. You got good ASU Sun Devil looking at you going, Hey, Steph Diggs come to mind.
Oh, wow.
Separation. Look at the tape. Then you got bad ASU Sun Devil going, this guy falls down getting a drink of water and gets hurt. Don't do it. And the Browns in the past with I'll put Anthony Schwartz out there. Anthony Schwartz wasn't a character or an injury guy. He just wasn't a wide receiver.
Yeah.
He was fast.
Yeah.
Greg Little.
Greg Little. Go back in the history of the wide receiver. How many wide receivers have the Browns taken in the first round?
Corey Coleman.
Corey Coleman.
2?
Who else?
Braylon.
Braylon. I'll look it up.
I think it's a handful.
Yeah, but a lot of the guys
it is the most challenging position in this franchise's history.
Yeah, but a lot of the guys you named were mid-round picks. Those were not
Okay,
six
okay,
overall.
but they were still reaches. Cedric Tillman. What?
He was second round.
Third.
Yeah, but he was another one of those guys who was supposed to be he was
third.
supposed to be a first rounder, and he got
got hurt.
injured,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Wow, we're getting a deal here."
Well, but
you
again,
got what you paid for.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about the 6th pick.
No, I'm worried about the 24th pick. I am, because Jay, you're exactly right. The other teams seem to know when a wide receiver is damaged goods.
Yeah.
We don't.
They've taken 6 in the first round in franchise history.
Okay,
by the
guys,
way.
now
Would
think
you like
about
to,
that.
Would you like me to read you the list real quick?
This is maybe one of the most important positions in the sport.
Now,
And we've taken 6 in the first round.
Would you like to hear these names?
Yeah.
Sure.
In 94, they took Derek Alexander with the 29th pick.
Okay. Had some moments,
From
but
Michigan.
overall, a fail.
In
Yeah.
79, they took Willis Adams.
Fail. 79, boys. 79. I'm the only person in this room alive at
No,
79.
I was alive. I was 3.
Okay.
I was
three.
not. I was hanging out with my dad somewhere.
In 73,
So,
73,
Steve Holden.
fail.
2016, Corey Coleman.
yeah,
Fail.
Yeah. That's
1964, Paul Warfield.
Hit.
And 2005, Braylon Edwards.
Fail.
That is the entire list of first-round receivers
Guys,
the
now
Browns have ever
think about
selected.
that.
Yeah.
This is one of the critical positions, especially in the last 3 decades. It's one of the critical positions for success in the National Football League. And the only guy that's hit was a Buckeye.
man. You got.
That's it.
You got to go back to
In the 60s.
If you if you do
Woody
it-
Hayes was his coach.
if you do a top 10 like Browns, we tried it. We tried it back in the day. A top 10 receiver room, you got guys that you going back to black and white. Max Speedy. Who is what? What are you talking about?
Or you got to throw Ozzie Newsome in, who wasn't even a wide receiver.
And then if you go back and you look at the top years for wide receivers, you would have Ozzie Newsome would be a tight end in there. And then there's another tight end that had over 1,000 yards. I can't remember what his name. He played with Josh McCown. This is crazy. It's a tight
Gary
end.
Barnidge.
Gary Barnidge.
Yeah.
Gary Barnidge has a top 1,000-yard year. And guess what? It's like Webster Slaughter once, and then it's Jarvis and Odell with 1,000, and that's it.
It's embarrassing, guys. That's why I've always said blind spot at that position, not just here with this general manager. This franchise has, for whatever reason, had the biggest blind spot at wide receiver of maybe any team other. We talked about this one other time. The Jets also have a woeful, pitiful history at wide receiver. But you got to turn over a new leaf.
Their all-time leading receiver is still a tight end from the 70s.
And that's probably, and you know what? If that changes, it's going to be Fannon's going to pass him as another tight end.
That's crazy.
Go get yourself a bona fide, field-stretching, wide receiver threat. This is 2026, Cleveland. You can't go this route of, let's take Callaway and see if he can be good. Let's take Schwartz and see if we can teach him how to be a wide receiver.
Is Cardinal Tate that guy?
I believe he is. But my fear isn't at 6. My fear is I do think that look, there's one reason you're not running at Pro Day. I'm afraid of getting hurt again.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
you're afraid of the number you're going to put up there.
You thought Tyson or for Tate?
No, for Tyson. I'm not
Tyson.
worried about Tate.
Yeah,
Tate ran a decent 40. Was it blazing? No. Neither does Jerry Rice. I'm not worried about that. If I'm Tyson, I'm saying 3 things can happen if I run the 40. I can blaze a time and turn everybody's head, okay? Or I could run a slow time and create more question, or I can pull up lame and hurt my hamstring.
You do
so
that.
if 2 of the 3 are bad, play the odds. Analytics is screaming in your ear, don't run.
Yep.
So he's
Chill
not
out.
going to run, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't either. But caveat emptor, buyer beware. If you draft this kid and you bring him in and he tears the hammy off the bone in week 2 of training camp, don't look to anybody for help because it's not coming. And Cleveland just can't afford to have something like that happen.
I can't afford to go to the used car. Like, he ain't used cars to go get that Audi. And I'm like, that Audi is looking crazy. They say
check engine lights on.
2024. we just put a little couple spark plugs in it. Go ahead and you like, I can't do it, sir.
When you buy a used car, what do? You look at the maintenance history.
You look at it. What a Carfax.
Has this car been wrecked? What and if
Can I pass an E-check?
and I hate to say this because
Oh, no. I had a car sitting that couldn't pass the E-check.
that's even worse. So
that was big
Jordyn
time.
Tyson were a car, he'd be a late model Porsche with low miles, but a history that suggests he could be a lemon. And you just have to be hands off on
check
that.
engine light is
The
off.
check engine light is flashing. It's flashing.
It was just it was an expat that was in Dubai doing business. He just left it over there. He left it in the parking
Now,
garage.
one last thing from Bad Devil.
One of those Porsches
okay?
that was in the flood, in the hurricane.
Flood car's even worse. Bottom's rusting. One last thing from Bad Devil. And this is what's going to make this calculus very difficult on draft day if he slips to 24. Bad Devil's looking straight at Cleveland going, pass on him. Pittsburgh's going to take him.
Yeah.
And he's going to have a 12-year Hall of Fame career. Take him!
And you know what? I'm running up there with the pick. I need him. I'm not letting him go to Baltimore or Pittsburgh or none of them other teams.
As Jason likes to say, you've got to take the emotion out of it.
Yeah. So, that's
You've
hard
got
for me to do.
Don't let fear drive a bad draft pick. They've done that before.
Yeah.
Don't miss. You've got. I don't even know if he's going to be there at 6. Something recently.
Tyson?
No, Tate. Something recently tells me that somebody's going to make a trade. Someone's going to move up.
I think he'll be there.
I hope,
think he's
pray that he's there. If he's there, turn in the card 0.4 seconds after number 5 is called.
just-
Like immediately. Here's what I want it to look like. With the 5th pick in the NFL, who has 5th pick?
Who is 5th? Who's
Arizona?
Giants.
Giants. Yeah,
Giants.
With the 5th pick in the NFL draft, the New York Giants take blah, blah, blah from blah, blah, blah. And the 6th pick is in, and the Cleveland Browns, they better look like that. Yeah, do-do-do-do-do. All right, that's my rant. Bad Devil, be gone.